5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're a go. I think. Yep. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Winnie, or Ian, and we're back with another card review. I am going to go ahead and... Yep, you guys can hear me. Anyways, we are going to go ahead and jump right into this thing. I have chat open on my phone as my personal account to make sure I can see if you guys have any comments. And let's go ahead and jump right into the Hearthstone new card review stream. So, we're starting off with, I believe, 12 new cards that were released, I believe, yesterday, after the card review I made yesterday, or at least at one point yesterday. I didn't realize that there were more cards. I didn't find them online yet. So, these are the cards I had missed yesterday, and I will be doing this for every new card. Anyways, or every new set of cards. Anyways, to start things off, we have Baited Arrow. Deal 3 damage, overkill, which means, let's say it has 2 health and you deal 3 damage to it, overkill activates. Overkill, summon a 5/5 Devil Sword. And before we had overkill where it summoned a... Or not summoned, but when you attacked a minion, you could attack, and you did overkill, where it had less health than your attack, and you killed it, you could attack again. This time, if it has less health than when you kill it, than how much damage you use to kill it, you summon a 5/5 Devil Sword. Now, I don't think this card's going to be very good. Here's why. It's 5 mana. We already have something very similar to this, which is 4 mana from Kobolds and Catacombs, which is Flanking Strike. Deal 4 mana, deal 3 damage, summon a 3/3. Now, the nice thing about that, now of course, that's deal 3 damage to a minion, so it's not as good as this, because this deals 3 damage in general, but that one is still better because for one, it's 1 mana cheaper. For 2, no matter what, it summons you a 3/3. This, the only way to summon the 5/5 is to deal the damage to something that has less health, or less, less health than the damage. Also, at 5 mana, the chances of that happening are pretty slim. Usually, the lowest health minion you're facing by turn 5 is Serenite Chain Gang, which has 3 health, so overkill wouldn't activate. And hitting face doesn't make this much better, because a 5 mana deal 3 damage to the face isn't very good either for Hunter, particularly for the fact that we already have a deal 3 damage to the face card, which ends up dealing 5 damage if you have a beast, and it's a basic card. There's a reason this is a common card. It's not very good. By turn 5, lots can happen. Even if you're facing Zoolock, summoning a 5/5 which has no defensive value by killing off a Light Warden, you could already be dead to everything else, like Fungalmancer or Doomguard in a Zoolock, which is where this probably would be most useful, because it has a lot of low health minions. But even then, I've died to Zoolock by turn 3 using what's considered a tier 1 deck. And I'm just like, okay. Because if you get a bad hand where your best play is some 4 to 5 cost cards, you're already dead. And maybe you could run this where it's like you're already winning, so you could summon a 5/5 Devil Sword to ensure you're winning. But if you're already facing a Zoolock and you've already stabilized to the point where you don't have to worry about this killing you, where you don't have to worry about a Zoolock killing you, and you can just keep this in your hand, or you play this and it actually helps you, then you're probably fine without it. you probably can just run regular Death Rattle Hunter, where you can get like 2 5/5s, a 3/3, and a 0/3 by turn 4 with Devilsaur Egg, Stalker, and Play Dead, which is by turn 4 2 5/5s, a 3/3, and a 0/3 minion, which also pretty much screws with Zoolock if they don't have a big enough board. And that's by turn 4 that you already have a bunch of stuff, in which case you're pretty much already winning. You just gotta clear their board real quick. And, well, Baited Arrow just doesn't seem like the best card. Now next, I think this card's ridiculous, because if you can just think for a second, imagine this back in the days when patches still had charge, back at the beginning of Gadgezette, Mean Streets of Gadgezette. This would have been the dream for Pirate Rogue. And if you can imagine that this was also for Warrior, Pirate Warrior would be dominating forever. But Cannon Barrage, now pirates are less common, but as we've already seen with Sharkfin Fan, pirates are making a comeback. Whether you like it or not, pirates are coming back. And this card, in my personal opinion, is strong as hell. Cannon Barrage. Deal 3 damage to a random enemy, repeat for each of your pirates. Let's say you have a full board of pirates because of, what's his face, Sharkfin Fan. And you sort of just, you have 2 Sharkfin Fans and a bunch of other pirates that you summoned by attacking. You play Cannon Barrage. That's 21 damage. 3 from each, and separate 3s dealt to random enemies. Let's say all your opponent has is 1 taunt. You could destroy that taunt and deal a bunch of damage to their face. Or if they have a big board, you instantly clear it with your pirate, with Cannon Barrage. You just hold out till turn 6, get a bunch of pirates, and bam, slash through everything and hit a bunch of face. Or even deal 3 damage to a random enemy. It's not even a minion. You can just hit face over and over and over again. Which means you don't have to wait for them to play a minion. You can just play this and deal 21 damage to their face if you have 7 pirates. That's completely overpowered for 6 mana. And seeing with Sharkfin Fan, if they don't have an answer to Sharkfin Fan, or 2 Sharkfin Fans, you could probably win pretty easily. I like this card. The fact that you can run 2 of them means that one turn you play this and destroy all their minions, the next turn you play another and destroy their face. I think this is way better than this, and this is like the Pirate Rogue dream. I'm tempted to run Pirate Rogue, even though in my personal opinion it's a really shitty deck to run for them. Not because it's bad, but because it's pure evil to run against your opponents. Your opponents literally hate you when you do that. But now it looks like this will be a really good expansion for Pirate Rogue. I wonder if they'll do anything for Warrior too. Now this one is a card you actually have to think about. Hex Lord Malik. 8 costs 5/5. Battlecry, add a copy of your opening hand to your hand, except this card. Basically, this is a mage card, and what it does is, let's say you have 2 Frostbolts, a Mana Worm, and an Arcane Missiles in your starting hand. Your hand is empty, you have 10 mana, you draw Hex Lord Malakras. Suddenly you have 2 Frostbolts, a Mana Worm, and an Arcane Missiles. Also the coin, if you went second. Think about that for a second. This allows you to think, okay, what do I want to keep in my starting hand? Because I know I have Hexlord Malakras, and let's say I'm a Tempo Mage. I want to keep some high power spells that are also cheap in cost. Or let's say I'm a Control Mage. Maybe I want to keep Frostlit Jaina in my hand, which normally would be a terrible idea. But hey, Hexlord Malakras will give me another Frostlit Jaina, which means I gain another 5 armor, and I gain another Water Elemental. Kind of a thought. Makes you kind of think, doesn't it? Or maybe you're a minion mage, and you want to keep one of that 2/2 minion that when you draw a minion, copy it. Maybe you want to do that. All the possibilities. There are so many possibilities for this card. Now, an 8 cost 5/5, not very defensive, doesn't do a lot of stuff when you first play it. Sure, you could get probably toasted, and maybe as a Tempo Mage you don't want to run this because, hey, why would you run an 8 cost card in Tempo Mage? Aluneth is already expensive enough, and it actually does something the turn you play it. Where, yes, this does do something the turn you play it, but it's not quite as good as Aluneth, because Aluneth draws you 3 cards, where this just puts your opening hand back in your hand, and even if you have 10 mana, unless you have something that's 2 or less in mana, you're not going to be able to play it. So yes, it doesn't do anything the turn you play it. Maybe you want to play this when you're already winning, or when you know that something in your hand can save you the next turn over, because you know you can live next turn, and maybe you have a Frostbolt and you need to freeze something real quick, and you can play this on turn 10 and then shoot a Frostbolt at the face. That might be useful. There's a lot you can do with Hexlord Malakras, and I think overall it's just a good card. I don't think you need to necessarily build a deck around it. I think honestly anything would be good, like just getting something value again in your starting hand. Like whatever you got in your starting hand, just getting it again would be pretty sweet. Let's say you had an Aluneth in your starting hand, and your opponent had destroyed your weapon. Hey, now you got another Aluneth. You know, there's so many different possibilities that, you know, you can do with this. I think overall it's a pretty good card. Might not do a lot the first turn you play it, but at the same time it might just. Because with a 2 extra mana, Mage can use a Frostbolt or an Arcane Missiles, play a Mana Worm, all that stuff. So, there's a lot you can do with this. Hyreek the Bat. On base value, this card is shit. It's an 8 mana 1/1 that fills your board with a copy of this minion. With copies of this minion. You get 7 1/1s for 8 mana. Not exactly the best thing. But, notice, fill your board with copies of this minion. There is a card later on in this card review called Spirit of the Bat, which I will talk to you about later, but it helps this card quite a bit. And you can run 2 of that in your deck if you run this. And you can run 2 of those in your deck, unlike this, where you can only run 1. But, if you think about it, Warlocks have some decent ways to buff cards in their deck. Maybe you run this in a Zoolock deck, and on turn 9 or turn 10 you do what's it called, Soul Infusion or double Soul Infusion, and you get a 3/3 or a 5/5. You play 2 of those, and you get a board full of 3/3s or a board full of 5/5s. That's kind of OP. You never know, but that could be really strong. I mean, there's ways to buff this in your hand. There's also Teleseth, and there's a card that I'll talk about in the future, in a couple cards. That's also pretty good. So there are ways to buff this where you can get it. Would I normally run this in a Zoolock? I might run it as an experiment in a Zoolock for fun, but I don't know if anyone's going to necessarily really run this. Maybe somebody wants to. Zoolock is already strong enough without another thing like this, but this could be a tempo play like Dragon Color Alana is for Mage. And it could be even better than Dragon Color Alana because you could get an entire board of 3/3s or an entire board of 5/5s without having to spend a bunch of mana on high cost spells. So this works well for this class. I think it would also work well for Paladin. Unfortunately, it's a Warlock card, and we can't run it in Buff Paladin in Arena or in Wild with what's his face? The leader of the goons. Don Hancho, that's it. That would be hilarious. You get a board full of 6/6s. That'd be funny. Anyways, the next card over is Immortal Prelate, which is a Paladin card for 2 mana. It's a 2 mana 1/3, not the best stats for 2 mana. Death Rattle, shuffle this minion into your deck. It keeps any enchantments. It's like Kingsbane basically, but maybe even better because you can 1, run 2 of these, and 2, it's a minion, so you're not actually damaging your face by hitting with it. So, although there's not a whole lot of stuff where it's like you can draw a 2 mana card, there are certain tutors that allow you to draw cheap cards, like that one demon, that the 3/3 4-cost demon. Excuse me guys, sorry about that. I don't remember what it's called, but I think it's some sort of Harper. But anyways, that one allows you to draw the lowest cost minion from your deck. Let's say this is the lowest cost minion in your deck. You could run this in Even Paladin and run Blessing of Kings and stuff like that. Could bring back Even Paladin a little bit. You could buff it with Valinir, and you could get infinite Valinirs. It could really just become a really strong card. Now, do I think this is going to be played in every Paladin deck? No, because right now the best Paladin deck is Baku Paladin, which this isn't a 3-cost card, it isn't a 1-cost card. It's a 2-cost card. So it's a little it's even, so you can't run it in Baku. That's what I'm trying to say. So basically, you can't run this in Baku Paladin, which is the most prominent deck right now. You can run it in a Buff Paladin, but the only person I know who ever has run Buff Paladin successfully is Brian Kibler, and I'm just saying he's a pro, and that card, Galvadon, is not actually that good of a card, but he knows what he's doing, so I applaud him for being good at making Buff Priest work, or Buff Paladin work. Hey, this will work for Buff Paladin, or it could work for even mid-range Paladin, or even Paladin, or anything like that. Even Paladin could make a comeback with this, with Valinir and Blessing of Kings. You could make a really strong set of these minions, and since that one tutor costs 4 mana, you can run that too. So overall, I think this is probably a 3 to 4 star card, if I were to give it a star count. I haven't given the other one star counts because I don't really generally know for sure how good a card's going to be until I play it, or play against it. But I think this is going to be at least a 3-star card, if I'd have to guess. This one, I like this one. This one's good for Mage, it's perfect for its class, and it's got a brilliant stat line. A 3-cost, rare, 3/4, Pyromaniac. Whenever your hero power kills a minion, draw a card. The best part about this card is it's a 3-cost 3/4 with no downside. The only way it's a downside is if you're facing a Fatigue or Mill Rogue or Warrior in Wild. because then you wouldn't want to play this card, obviously, because if you're going to kill something, it's going to draw you another card, and you're just going to slowly mill yourself down. But that doesn't really matter, because that's all in Wild, so if you're playing this in Standard, this is a really good card. There's no downside to this card, in my opinion. Whenever your hero power kills a minion, draw a card, which means you have card draw with it. It's got a great stat line of 3/4 for 3 mana. It's a rare, which means it's pretty common. You could get one of these in one pack, and then the next pack over you get another, and which means it's pretty easy to get, and it's pretty cheap to craft. It's not that hard to get. A Pyromaniac is actually a really good card, and especially if you run it with Frostlit Jaina, every time you kill a minion, you summon a 3/6 Water Elemental with Lifesteal, and you draw a card. So I think overall this card has no downside. If I were to give this card a star rating, it'd be 4 to 5 stars, just because it is possibly my favorite card right now. Probably of just this video that we're going to be covering cards. There are the other card for Rogue, the Spirit of the Shark, is still my favorite because I'm so crafting Edwin Van Cleef and just getting a 24/24 Edwin Van Cleef and just saying well played the second I do, because that would be too much fun. But yeah, so I think this card is one of the best cards we've seen so far, and it's not even that it's just like an overpowered card that doesn't win you games. It's just really good. I mean, 3/4 for 3 mana is a great stat line. Having no downsides is amazing. Having your hero power draw you a card is great. And the fact that you can run 2 of these in your deck, and you can just play this without even having to worry about your hero power. This is a turn 3, just drop it down. You don't even have to wait to play it, because chances are this will survive a turn 3 or something. And even if it doesn't, you still got some good trades out of that. This is a good card. So, probably a 4-star card. I thought this card was hilarious. I like this card. I think... Oh! Look at that. A YouTuber that I follow, KC, or Sleepyowl, who created the thumbnail for this video, has sent my link in his chat. That's really nice of him. If you're watching, Sleepyowl, thank you. Anyways, Brighton of Toads, I think, is a hilarious card. Summon 3/2/4 Toads with Taunt, overload 3. So it's basically like Phantom Militia, but it's a common card, and it might not be as bad. Basically what it does is, for 6 mana, you summon 3/2/4 Taunts, which is pretty good against aggressive decks, I guess. But it's not very good against other kinds of decks because Mossy Horror. Mossy Horror instantly cancels its card, and let's say you played it on turn 6, the next turn you're going to have 4 mana from 7 mana. So, probably not the best card in the game, but I think it looks hilarious. I might run this as a joke card. It's probably better than Phantom Militia, because Phantom Militia, you get 3/2/4s for 9 mana. Although you still get all your mana the next turn over. With Shaman, if you're running this in an even Shaman, first of all, you can run this in an even Shaman, which means you can build up the board and potentially get a Sea Giant on the board, which would be completely epic. And it would mean that you can also run this in lieu instead of Phantom Militia, because Phantom Militia is a 3-cost card, which means you can't run in an even Shaman. So this could be run as a sort of Phantom Militia substitute and even Shaman. I think that would be fun. I really do. And the Overload 3, honestly, for 6 mana, if you already have 6 mana, 4 mana on turn 7 for a Shaman is actually plenty. Especially if you get a strong play like this, where you get a bunch of taunts. 4 health for a taunt is really annoying to deal with, so as to attack. So I think overall this is a good card. Anyways, let's move on. I think this is one of the worst cards. I hate to say it, but I don't like this card. Yeah, I don't. It's okay for its stats, but its battle cry is useless. 2 mana, 2/3, Savage Striker. Deal damage to an enemy minion equal to your hero's attack. That's its battle cry. Here's the issue with this card. We already saw a card like this before called Savagery. It was a 1 mana card, 1 mana spell, where you dealt damage to a minion equal to your hero's attack. It never saw play. I have never, ever seen that card in play, except by people who had just started the game at rank 25, back when new players started at rank 25. So it's not very good for its effect. Now you could run this in something like Token Druid, where you use stuff like Savage Roar to overrun your opponent, and you get like 4 health. You run 2 of these, so you play 2 of these, and you deal 8 damage to, or you deal 4 damage to 2 4 health taunts, or 8 damage to an 8 health taunt, and you rush with the rest of your minions in your face through your opponent. Maybe that could work. But why would you want that when Token Druid is already fine enough by itself? You don't really need Savage Striker to make it better. Sure, it would help you get through taunts maybe, but is that really worth it? You'd be dealing like 4 to 7 damage if you have your hero power from your what's it called? From not Deathstalker Rexar. Too used to that one. Malfurion the Pestilence. If you have the hero power from Malfurion the Pestilence, it's 7 damage, which means you could deal 7 damage to a taunt, or 14 damage to a taunt. But still, you have to play this minion, which means it can't attack immediately. So it's not very good in that regard. And plus, Token Druid already has a lot of really good stuff, like Whispering Woods, Spreading Plague. All that stuff makes this card not so worth it. So I don't really think this is going to be a good card. If I had to give it a star, I'd give it a 1 star. I don't think it's going to be very good. The only thing that makes it decent is that it's a 2-cost 2/3, and that's good stats for a 2 mana card. Makes me wish it was a 2-cost 3/3 just to make it actually worth it, but that would be too overpowered, I guess, especially for a common card. But still. Anyways, this is what I was talking about back when we were looking at Hyreek the Bat. Spirit of the Bat. Now here's the thing about this one. It's a 2-cost card. So your normal typical Zoolock where you run Keleseth wouldn't work. But you could run this in lieu of Keleseth along with some 2-cost aggro cards. And Spirit of the Bat says, it's a 2-cost, Spirit of the Bat, stealth for 1 turn. After a friendly minion dies, give a minion in your hand +1/+1. It's a 0/3. So let's say you have 2 of these, and you have Hyreek the Bat in your hand, and you're playing Zoolock. So you play a couple Light Wardens, or a Sharonite Chain Gang, or something like that, and your opponent kills the Sharonite Chain Gangs, and your Light Warden, and you have Hyreek the Bat in your hand. So it gets buffed like to 5/5. And then you play, you know, double Soul Infusion. Then you wait for your opponent to kill off your Spirit of the Bats. He kills him off. He hits the face for a little bit. You suddenly have an 8/8 Hyreek the Bat. You play it. You get a board full of 8/8s. Your opponent concedes. That's best case scenario. Do I think that's going to happen often? Probably not. But, you know, Zulok can benefit from a card like this, especially since Keleseth is going to go out of the meta soon. Or into Wild is what I mean. So, you know, it's been 2.5 years since Knights of the Frozen Throne came out. I still remember when I was like super hyped about that. Honestly, this expansion looks kind of cooler. Just a little bit, even though I love the Lich King as character in World of Warcraft back when I still played it. I can't afford it now, so I can't play it. It kind of sucks. But it's an incredible expansion. Anyways, besides that point, Spirit of the Bat I think is a good card. Maybe not the best card, maybe like a 2 to 3 star card, but it's still really good. And here's why. In Zulok, when things die, that actually helps Warlock. Warlock has many cards where if something dies, it helps. I believe, anyways. You don't normally see those in play, but maybe you could see more of those soon. So if this expansion comes out with more cards where, hey, if this minion dies, give a buff to this, or give a better death rattle, or give all minions on the battlefield +1/+1. Something like that. These are good cards to run for that. I think these kind of cards are what's going to make Hyreek the Bat, right over here, playable. I think this, with Soul Infusion and all that stuff, is going to help make Hyreek the Bat actually playable. Do I think this is necessarily a really good card that everyone's going to want to run? No. I think this is very specific to certain types of Zulok that are going to come out. And that's about it. Probably just Zulok is going to run this, and Control Warlock will run the same sort of stuff. So Spirit of the Bat, probably not worth it. Probably not worth it for Control Warlock or Hand Warlock, but Zulok definitely will run this. I think once Keleseth is out of the meta, Spirit of the Bat is going to become one of the best Zulok cards. This one, I don't have a whole lot to say about Springpaw. I think it's a good card. It's a hunter card. It's got rush. Its battle cry is add a 1/1 links with rush to your hand. It's a beast. 1 cost 1/1s. That's a fine stat line for a 1 mana card, especially since it has rush and it's a beast, which means stuff like Scavenging Hyena and Houndmaster, all that stuff helps with Springpaw. Scavenging Hyena would get buffed by this dying, and Houndmaster would make it basically for 5 mana you get a 3/3 with rush that adds a 1/1 rush minion to your hand and a 4/3. Probably not super useful in this meta, but it would be a minion to run. Probably a decent minion. I think Springpaw will be pretty good. Overall, I'm not sure it'll be the best card, but all in all, not a bad hunter card. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's necessarily amazing either. I think it's just okay. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say on that one. So, this is what you've all been waiting for. Token Priest is going to be a thing. This is a priest card right here. Surrender to Madness. Destroy 3 of your mana crystals. Give all minions in your deck +2/+2. Token Priest? That'd be fun as heck. What you do is the penguins and the wisps, you run on penguins you run Wisps, you run Keleseth, or something like that. You run some heal cards, like some draw cards, basically, like what's that one card called? Northshire Cleric, and that heal 4 health to all minions card. Circle of Healing. You run stuff like that, and maybe you run a few like Power World Shields. You run some 3-cost cards, maybe like the Injured Blade Master and other good 3-cost cards for Priest. You know, there's plenty of stuff you can run, and what you do is you just run basically a token Priest. You run some draw cards, you run some overpower cards, and you basically just, I'm totally willing to make a token Priest deck where you run just a little bit of card draw, and you basically just run 2 of these, and you get 4/4 in stats, destroying 6 mana crystals, but you don't have to play them all at once. Like, you do this once, you get a bunch of 2/2s, or you get a bunch of like 3/3s and all that stuff, where it's like pretty strong stuff, and you get some card draw in it. Maybe you don't even run Keleseth. Maybe you run stuff like Loot Hoarder to draw cards. Any other, like Bloodmage Thalnos, stuff like that to draw cards. And you basically make a sort of token control Priest, where you basically just buff everything, and you run 2 Surrender to Madness, and you just make a big board with some draws, and you just basically pound face. I think this is going to be extremely fun. Do I think it's a very good card? Maybe not. Maybe like a 3-star card at best. But like, it looks hilarious to run. We have never seen like token Priest before. I think this will be hilarious to run. And people will never expect you to be running a token Priest. So I'll be like, oh yeah, it's Blood Reaver, oh not Blood Reaver, Shadow Reaper Anduin with like some sort of weird OTK, or Malik goes, and then suddenly you play Surrender to Madness, and your opponent's like, well, I'm fucked. I think this will be a hilarious card to run. A token Priest would definitely work well with this. Token Priest would be absolutely hilarious to run, and I look forward to running something like this. Anyways, next card. The last card of the thing. There's not a whole lot to say about this one. 8 mana, Void Contract, destroy half of each player's deck. It's a spell. I think this is garbage. I actually do. Because right now, in Kobolds and Catacombs, there is Rin the First Disciple. And after a couple turns, you can destroy your opponent's entire deck, as well as get a 3/6 in stats, which when it dies gives you basically the combo to do this, and up to a 2/2, then a 3/3, then a 4/4, then a 5/5, then a 6/6, and a 10/10 that destroys your opponent's deck. A boatload of stats. Yes, it takes a while to do, but it destroys your opponent's whole deck. It doesn't hurt your deck, and it also gives you stats on the board. Void Contract is 8 mana, basically do nothing but hinder your opponent and yourself in the future. So you're wasting a lot of mana to try to make it so, hey, maybe this will help me. It won't. It's just going to damage you, basically. I don't think this is a very good card. Now, I think maybe one day this could be run in some sort of weird deck, but I think this is a 1-star card. I don't think it's going to be any good. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe somebody will run 2 Void Contracts and destroy a bunch of your opponent's deck, and then like rebuild their own deck. I don't know. I don't think this is very good. That's just my personal opinion, and feel free to disagree with me. I don't mind. Anyways, that's gonna be the end of my stream. Since that's it, we'll just see you guys later. If you have any comments to give about any of the cards, whether you think I'm wrong, whether you think they're really good, go ahead and let me know. I think that it's a good expansion so far. A lot of really good cards. Not every card can be a good card, but like they can't make every card really overpowered. You know, because that's just not smart. You can't make every card an amazing card, you know? So, anyways, guys, I'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you later. Peace, guys.